Jerry, you hear me?
I'm here.
All right. Jerry
Justin.
and Greg. I was like, dude, you just snuck in there.
Oh yeah, we'll probably have like 30 guys, no problem.
Yeah, I didn't expect this. This is great.
Tremendous. Very good.
All right, we're right on time too. Jerry, can you do me a favor? Can you tweet out that we are at capacity and there is a waiting room. So if anybody jumps out, just so you guys know in here, anytime you bounce out because there is a waiting room, if you close this and leave the chat, someone's going to take your place. So just be aware of that. So what we have right now, first, I want to thank everybody for jumping on. This is really cool. I would like to, I'm Greg Gurenlian, this is Jerry Raganese. We're going to be answering your questions. If you want to go to the right side of the screen and search Jerry, he's on there, and then you can click on his video thing so that you can make sure that he's on your screen. That way you can see him when he's answering questions as well. The idea behind this whole webinar, we're getting a lot of the same questions from a lot of our FOA parents, players, coaches, etc. And what we wanted to do was just kind of answer as many questions as we could in an hour for all you guys. If we go 30 minutes or 40 minutes and you guys are good for questions, then we'll call it a night. But that was the idea. This isn't like a training session. This is a Q&A for you guys to ask us anything you want. We also have the Beast Lab on YouTube. If you guys can go to youtube.com/Greg Gurenlian and subscribe to that, there's going to be probably a video on that list that's going to answer 90% of the questions that we get tonight. So that'll make things a lot easier for you. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep this chat open on the right hand of the screen, and we are going to open the floor up for questions. And as we see them, we'll just answer them. If we're answering a question at the moment, then try to hold off till we're getting close to the end, and then you can ask the next one. That way we won't breeze past it, okay? So go ahead and fire away. First come, first serve, and we'll start answering questions for you guys. Okay. So from Cash, he asked if he would like to hear us touch on ways to improve via drills and different ways to improve wing play. So we talk about wing play all the time. In fact, if you go to the playlist on the website, Jared, do you want to start talking about our base set, and I will share the playlist for a couple wing drills?
Yes. So we have our base set up. We have your best, most aggressive ground ball guy, one or two guys. It's always going to be a shorty unless you have a guy like Brody Merrill, a once in a lifetime ground ball long stick on your pull side, which is to your left side. You're going to set them all the way down towards your goalie as far as they can go on the line. What this allows him to do is take 8 or 9 hard steps in as fast as he can and then read the situation. What it allows, and then once he's reading the situation, if you get beat forward, he just picks up the guy who just took your guy out the front. You pick up the face-off guy who lost, picks up the pull as he's running off the field, and you never give up any odd man offense. The other option that you have is the pull on the other side. He should be locking off his man, or you can strategically place him in a defensive situation. There's a great video that Greg just posted up, giving you kind of the whole rundown. That is to everyone. Okay, great. I would bookmark that link. That gives you a very in-depth breakdown on wing situations, man up, man down, defensive draws, etc. But as far as just hitting the firing pin on this, set your best ground ball guy deep, have him run in anywhere from 5 to 8 yards, and then allow him to read the situation. If the ball pops out in the front, he's there to pick up the fast break. If you can use him as an outlet through a TTL, put that on a rope to his stick, then he's able to run touchdown plays and stuff like that. We go over that in some other videos as well. But realistically speaking, he should never be hip to hip running straight in, because then he doesn't do you any good. He should always be deep.
Yeah. And then on top of that, when we talk about drill specific, I just posted 2 different looks at this. We have a term in the FOA called "don't bring more dudes to the party." Basically meaning that when you are post impact and you're locked up with your opponent, we don't want the shorty to run in and get on top of you. Our goal is to keep space. So your shorty whoever's on the left side of you when you're on the face-off, the draw side, you want him to come in but stay about 6 to 8 yards behind you and circle behind your numbers. That forces the other team's wing to then decide if he's going to cover you or him. And that creates space for you as a face-off guy. Because once you get on impact and you start locking up and spinning in circles, after 1 or 2 seconds, now 6 guys are on top of each other. And no matter who wins with the exit, you're going to get chopped up. So take a look at those drills that we just posted, okay? Jill Benson asks, how do we get rid of elbow flare? Funny you asked that. Here is a video link. Jerry just posted today on our FOA drill of the day about how to get rid of elbow flare. Elbow flare is the most stubborn problem in face-offs, because once you're taught to kick out with your elbow, then we have to completely change the way you face off. So the reasoning behind elbow flare is because you're either taught in your stance to have your elbow kicked out and you're facing north-south, and usually it's because your knee is inside your hand up against the shaft. So, or you've been taught to roll the top sidewall over the ball before the throat gets to the ball. That's going to cause you to move your elbow first and then roll over. And after thousands of reps of nobody fixing that for you, we get to a point where if you use the FOA app, take the FOA app, video yourself going on a cadence. We don't want guys just taking a clamp with the camera rolling on themselves at their own speed, because we want to see how you react to something. That when the adrenaline's kicking, that's when we can really tell what you're doing. So when you look at it in slow-mo on your camera roll, it'll show you if your elbow moves before your hand. The gold standard for face-off guys is our right hand to be the first thing that moves on the whistle. So if your elbow's moving first, that means that's obviously a delay between the whistle and the clamp. So we just posted on the chat. Make sure you look at that video that Jerry posted today on the DOD, and that'll show you exactly how to start to get rid of that. And then when you incorporate the rep strap that we have, that starts to give you biofeedback too. Okay, so definitely take a video of you doing reps on your own and see if you have that elbow flare. Let's see here. Wow, this is great. A lot of you got. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Let's see here. Next question. I'm trying to start back at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Best way to increase hand speed for the initial punch. Jerry's going to talk about that real quick while I get the right hand punch drill up for you.
So guys, the best way to improve hand speed, get faster, XYZ, all the variations of that question is just to make sure that your hands are moving on the whistle. A lot of our VIP sessions are mostly based on breaking down what our guys are doing in slow motion that is stopping them from getting those hands firing from start. So what we will normally see is guys will roll, or they'll raise up out of their stance, bringing their chest really high and then snapping, or bringing their elbow higher and then snapping, or flaring their elbow and then snapping. Those are all things that are before the snap. So you're doing something else before you move your hands. That's why we like to have our elbow inside of our hand. It helps us push down the line immediately. So that there we have a great drill. It's that right hand punch drill that helps you get down the line, get the ball into your throat as fast as possible. That is the way you make yourself faster. You're eventually going to run into somebody that has just unbelievable hands. A Trevor Baptiste, a TD Erlin. Those guys are they're not gifted with unbelievable hand speed. They have a gift, but their gift is that they are paying attention. They're watching themselves. They're watching film. Anybody can do what they do. Obviously, they're kind of in a Usain Bolt, God's given gift, but they are human. They are beatable. They did lose face-offs. They didn't go 100% at the X. They went, in the 60, 70% range. That means they lost a few. That means somebody caught them. It means they made mistakes. But the reason, and just like everybody else, the reason why those guys are so good is that they break down that film. Where is my mistake? What am I doing wrong? Let me retool my stance. Let me make adjustments. And I think that's something a lot of guys just don't do. They work on just the same thing over and over again. The definition of insanity is doing that, the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. The amount of times I've retooled my stance, and Greg has retooled his stance over the past 10 years, making us super old, him longer than me. It's changed drastically. Greg was initially a standing traditional grip guy. We wound up going, I know I was standing moto when I came into the league. We've transferred to a knee. Now we're kind of, switching back and forth between standing neutral and knee down moto. So as long as your hands are firing the right direction, it doesn't really matter what you do. It's all about making sure that on that initial of the whistle, that is what we're listening for. We're not listening for the middle. We're listening for that initial of the whistle and getting our hands into the ball. That is where you're going to see faster hands.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, basically it's just comes down to biomechanics, and FOA, our entire system is basically a crash course in biomechanics. It all starts with your stance and the leveling system after that. So if your stance is correct, your angles are correct, you're basically shortening the sprint that you have to get to the ball. And remember, we're lining up 2 inches from our opponent. We're 2 inches from the ball. So if we can do something that's going to save you a half an inch, we've just taken you from a JV guy to a starter in college. So just remember that. This is all minor, tiny, different little things that we look at. And when you add them up, it makes you a completely different player. So it's really important to look at that. Okay, so let's see. Do you guys have any specific advice for a taller face-off guy, 6'7"?
God bless you.
Monster. So Tucker, I'm going to tell you right now, if you have the flexibility for it, being a stand-up neutral grip face-off guy as a taller guy would give you an enormous advantage. If you want to look at someone like Matt McShay from Brown, he learned how to face off standing neutral grip a year ago, and he was crushing Division I guys this year as a secondary option at Brown because he had a great instinct. He's a hockey player, a great instinct for loose balls, but he used his wingspan and his range. So after he went for the rake and the pinch, he worked on the pinch and pop and rake out of that motion. Then his counter of a shovel was great, and he was able to smother guys who tried to pop the ball out. Remember, a face-off win isn't a clamp. A face-off win is possession. So I don't care if Jerry showed up to a field one day and I've never seen him face off, and all he did on the whistle was stand up and then screw my exit up and steal the ball from me 10 in a row. That's 10 for 10 face-off wins. No coach cares how you win. They only care if you win. So I would highly recommend you use your length and your size to go with a standing neutral grip face-off. On this playlist, there's a ton of different examples of standing neutral grip. But if you were to dedicate yourself to mastering that, you would be a savage out there. Jacob asks, what if you're an emergency face-off man and you don't have a face-off head that particularly pinches? We would tell you to go as a rake. If you were a standing neutral grip raker, you can use any head on the market because a standing neutral grip rake uses the flat side of the bottom of the sidewall. Standing neutral grip is a bottom sidewall dominant face-off position. So if you can rake and step to the right and affect people on the exits, that would be key. It's never been better for non-traditional face-off guys to face off because you can't keep the ball in the back of your stick. You have one step to pop the ball out. So it's better than it's ever been for guys who don't usually face off.
Braxton, we're getting a couple of questions that are all the same. How do you win a face-off if somebody's bigger and stronger than you? Or how do you beat a guy who just bodies, which is a great question.
Yeah, I mean, face-offs are more about speed than they've ever been. They're way less about size. And it means nothing to be a taller, stronger face-off guy anymore. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's all about speed and technique and IQ. So if I'm going against Jerry and Jerry's twice my size and I don't want him muscling me off the ball, what I should be focusing on is speed dominant moves. And then because he's a bigger guy, he's probably slower than me. So I can then affect his exit. So I would go with a standing neutral grip. I would go with rake variations to pull him off balance because if it's a speed game only, it gives me a huge advantage. And then if I don't get it, I stay in front of him. And as he goes to exit, I screw up his exit with my stick. So that's what I would do if I was going against a bigger, stronger guy. I don't know if Jerry has anything to add to that.
Being an undersized guy myself, I understand this problem going against the likes of Greg and you know, guys like Anthony Kelly through my career, just guys who just tower over me. I always found that if it's a bigger guy, he wants to push into you. When he wants to push into you, as long as you're not there for him to push, he can't really do anything. And that's not to say, hey, fast break him every time because we're all trying to do that anyways, right? It's to say, make sure you're rotating. Because if you rotate, he can never get his helmet on your shoulder if guys are still doing that. Or he can never put his helmet into your helmet and push you off the ball. If you get to the side of his shoulder, now he's got to keep up with you. He may over-rotate, making it an easy fast break opportunity for you once he starts trying to keep up with you. So Brendan Fowler does a great job of this. I hate going against Brendan Fowler because the second I touch that ball, I know he's going to be on my side before I even have a chance to get to my feet. So making sure that you're always rotating, that's why wrestlers are super good at this. They're basically sprawling, getting around to the other side of their opponent. Same thing applies here. The guy can be bigger than you, but if he can't actually push into you or use any of his energy to knock you off the ball, what does it matter? So getting to his side is always super important because you're able to use his momentum against him. If he shoots forward and you come to the side, he still gets to go the way he wants to go, but now he's going to where you want it to go. You're kind of face-off jujitsu.
Caleb Parker asks, how do you reduce clamping too far down the line? Is it caused by elbow flare? Caleb, that's a good question. It's a common problem. That's the reason we don't use the term down the line, because it makes people sit back and throw their right hand really far. When you're clamping and you're practicing your snaps, which is your clamp, power clamp, and plunger, your goal is to make the ball hit the throat of your head, but not go off the line. If you're pushing it off the line, that means you've pushed it too far. And in a game, you would be pushing it sideways into your opponent's stick. So what we want to do is we want to make sure the reason behind that is, yeah, an elbow flare could do that. The biggest culprit is that you're sitting back. So that on the whistle, your weight. So once again, you video yourself, you do a rep progression. And if you're sitting back as you clamp, that means your weight is going this way while your right hand is carrying with no weight on it. So it ends up pushing the ball or rolling right over the ball. So what we want to do is in our stance, we want to sit up on that right knee. That should be where the center of your gravity is. And then on the whistle, your helmet should come with you when you go to clamp. That way you go into the ball, but you also pin it in place. And that's how you get rid of that issue, okay? Adam wanted to shout out Caleb Parker for a good question. Great job. People helping people. Let's see. How do you get a fast break on every face-off win? I'll tell you what, if you can figure that out, we'll hire you at the FOA. No, but I mean, in all seriousness, when you do want to pop a guy forward, you want to make it count. We see guys all the time. They just kind of do the same move over and over. And yeah, they might pull the ball forward a couple feet, but because they do it over and over again, the teams have their wings set up and they're prepared for it. What I always told guys is a face-off goal off a face-off is such a momentum carrier. Teams in college game plan against it so viciously because they know what it does momentum-wise to their own bench if it happens to them. So what you want to do is you want to multiply your exits. If your wing is open, throw it through your legs, get it to your wing. Make their team start to cheat up a little bit so that when you do go forward, you know that it's going to be a dunk. And that's what we really want to create. Now, that being said, there are wing plays, man. You can pop the ball TTL, turn around, scoop, and send your LSM on a break, throw it over the top. You can throw it out to your wing on your pull side, have him deep, and on the whistle, have the LSM break up field so it's catch and pass. So there's plenty of stuff you can do wing play wise when you're winning clamps to create a fast break for sure. When does this end? Because I have to leave in a couple minutes. Easton, don't worry. We're recording this whole thing and we're going to post it on YouTube. So don't worry about it, brother. Let's see. When should you determine when to stand up before it's too late? Scott, I'm going to answer it in two ways because I don't know if you're asking us if you're getting beat over and over again and you decide to stand up, or if you mean stand up after you've lost a clamp. So let's go from the top. If you lose a clamp in a game, and as you make 50-50, we have what we call the saw down drill, and you have 3 different reads out of it. If Jerry wants to go over it, I'll actually post the video for it.
Perfect. So guys, when we go into our saw down, when we say saw, it's literally a sawing motion. We're going back and forth with our left hand, keeping the weight over the top of the ball with our right. So we're basically wiggling that plastic underneath our opponent's stick that we're already under. We're just getting more of the ball. Then once we have control, a talented face-off guy will get to his feet and try and block our exit one way or another. So we have to use our peripheral vision to read where his feet are. So most guys are going to step forward because they want you to not go out the front door. So once they step out the front door, we're already getting to our feet because we're going to our pro hop regularly, cutting the field in half. If I feel pressure on my butt end, I'm going out the back door across my face or TTL through my legs. I would probably err on the side of going across my face because that puts the ball in between put knee in between the ball and the man. Meat between the ball and the man is what we always want to do. If I go TTL, he might be able to get around me because he's already to his feet. The second option is if we're sawing down and he's still pushing into us, and we feel like he's got a good read on wherever we're going. Definitely go TTL, because again, we put meat in between the man and the ball. That's what we're always looking for. And last but not least, if he makes the decision to try and over rotate and power your stick off the ball, even though you have full control, maybe a 60-70% of the ball, then you can take him out front. So those are 3 different options that we have. But the most important thing is getting to your feet and reading the situation. Too many guys think fast break, fast break, fast break. You want to go with what your opponent's going to give you. Every draw that's won, you're feeling out your opponent. You can't just think forward, 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 because then your opponent knows this guy wants to go forward. I can kind of cheat to one side. But if he cheats to one side and he beats you, now you're in trouble, right? Because like Coach said, picking up a ground ball is how you win the faceoff. Doesn't matter, hey, I did a great job of winning the clamps today. It matters who picks up the ground ball. So always feel out your opponent's pressure. As we're sawing that left hand, as soon as I feel that he shifts upfield, going out the back door. If I feel that he tries to rotate and push me off the ball, great, fast break. Or if he comes and approaches, gets to his feet, I feel the belly to helmet out, go through the belly to helmet drill, TTL through our legs, rotate off that outside foot, one-handed ground ball, puts it as far away from your opponent as possible.
And then on top of that, in case you were talking about when to bail on a clamp, I just posted a video, the second move video for my playlist. You have 3 reads to make when you are on impact. So on impact, whistle happens, right hands meet, right? Plastic to plastic. You have to make 3 reads. Now, if you win it clean, go for your move. But on the read, when you make impact, if you have slightly more than half the ball, we want to see you saw down to finish it and then exit. Your other read, your second read is if you have slightly less than half of the ball, you're going to saw down and then you're going to go into what we call a peel off. You're going to punch your left hand and basically re-power clamp to peel your opponent's plastic back to steal the ball back. And then if you have like a third of the ball and you know for a fact that you're losing the clamp, we teach our guys, don't rip the wrist, don't re-jam, go straight into belly to helmet. Step to the right and immediately get your belly lined up with the top of his helmet. That way you can affect his exit. A lot of guys will step to the right and then stay there. The last video we posted on FCL showed Notre Dame versus Denver, and Stathakis was able to go into his defensive turn because the Notre Dame guys did a great job of getting to their feet initially, but then they didn't make another step as he rotated. And then if you're asking about when is a good time to go standing neutral grip against a guy who's beating you clamp for clamp on a knee, SNG is not a stance that you just use if you're getting beat. We train in New York, every rep we do on a knee, we train a rep standing up. It's just as even. And that's across the board at the FOA. The rule is we don't use this until it doesn't work, then use this. We train them so they're even, so that you open up a whole new branch of moves. Rakes, pinches, shovels, all that stuff is on that SNG branch. So you want to train them evenly. That way you can switch in and out of them whenever you want. So if I go against Jerry in a game for the first time and I notice right away, whoa, I'm on a knee with this guy, he's going to crush me if I try to go clamp for clamp on a knee, I immediately swip to SNG and I start exposing whatever I think he's not good at. Okay. How can I practice getting my top sidewall down when I'm going against someone who is SNG? So Dylan, we've talked about this before at our draw days. Your issue is not getting the top sidewall over the ball. Your issue, what we want to focus on, is bringing your helmet over the ball with you while you punch the ball stop into the ball. The guys who obsess over just rolling over the top are the ones who are the easiest to get to beat SNG, because they never get the ball fully into the throat because their first motion is an elbow and a hand rolling over this way. And while your elbow and hand are rolling over, I'm already coming up underneath the ball. So no matter how hard you clamp on top of it, you're basically standing on the rug that I've put there so I can pull it out from you. So remember, don't worry about getting the top sidewall over, get your helmet over, and that'll take care of everything. Can you turn your volume up? My volume is fine. You should turn if you turn your volume up, then you'll hear me. If I turn my volume up on my computer, it's not going to make it louder on your computer, I don't think. Let's see. Yes, this is being recorded. We will post it on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Greg Gurenlian. Okay, this is actually a great question. A lot of people are going to have this. Jonathan's asking, when I use my CEO2, it's hard for me to exit and I leave the ball behind. Is there strategy to exits with this? The CEO2 and the CEO are face flex, which means they don't twist on an angle and pinch the ball between the sidewalls. They fold back like a spatula, and the ball has to get squeezed behind the back two sidewalls. So in order to make sure you don't leave a face flex head, as long as you don't to leave a ball behind, what you have to do is you have to crank your left hand up to a 90-degree angle. And what that does when you go to exit, it bends the plastic on a 90-degree angle and then makes sure the ball's squeezed in the throat. The second thing you have to make sure you don't do is don't drag the head. You should never be dragging your head anyway. But if you drag it while you have a face flex, the ball slides right out the top. So make sure that when you have the ball, you go into a defensive rotation. When you finish, lift that left hand all the way to 90 and then punch with the right hand underneath so that it comes out clean, okay? Easton is asking when we can please get to the video of the drills. Easton, the drills are on youtube.com/Greg Gurenlian. This isn't a training session. This is a Q&A webinar for face-offs. So if you want to see drills, go to the drills on youtube.com/Greg Gurenlian. All of them are on there for you. Let's see.
Guys, questions about heads. Those are all preference. We have a great list of heads on our the FaceOffAcademy.com. There's new ones added all the time when they do come out. But our recommendation is to just try different heads, borrow your friends, you know, say if I break it, I'll buy you a new one. But most heads have a pretty good warranty. Most heads are made pretty well. But I know some guys who swear by the Weapon X. I know some guys who swear by the 2F. I know some guys who swear by the Burn FO. I know guys who still swear by the old Nas. It's really what works for you. And it's always the wizard, not the wand. Don't think, oh, a new face-off head came out, I'll be unbeatable if I get this. That's not how it works. Just know that some guys like the oblong flex, like the Weapon X, and some guys like the face flex, like the Burn FO. So just something to note.
Yeah, and guys, I just posted our head recommendation page on the FaceOffAcademy.com. On that page, not only do we have every head that we recommend that's currently out, but we also have a full review, and we have the link to where you can buy them. Okay, so there's also a video on my YouTube page on here. If you go under equipment reviews, you will be able to look at it and see I have a full video in which I'm ranking all of the different face-off heads based on different categories: strength, bendability, field play, retention, all that stuff. So watch that video if you want to see kind of it, try to tailor it so it helps you choose your own video. Choose your own head. How do you notice such small errors in your opponent's game? So that's a great question, Max. I've always been someone who believes very firmly in film more than reps. You can learn more in 10 minutes of studying film from a very analytical standpoint than you can from doing 1,000 reps. And the reason being is, for instance, I see some of you guys who are clamping while we're doing this video, and 9 out of 10 of you guys have elbow flare or you're leaning the wrong way on your clamp. So for every single one of those reps, you guys are now teaching your body that that's the way to face off. Whereas if you watch 10 seconds of a video of you clamping, you would be able to break down your elbows kicking out first, you're turning away, you're ending up on a reach, you're dragging the ball across your body. You'd be able to learn all that in 10 seconds by watching video. So when I watch an opponent, what I do is I break down what I see them do the least. So if I were to break down a film of a guy who wins a game and he goes 12 for 14 on faceoffs, but he has 11 ground balls, I'm going to look at that and go, okay, so he never uses his wings. So now I don't have to worry about leaving the wings open on a game. I can now game plan to screw him up on his exits, and we can make it 3-on-1. So, stuff like that, that literally just comes from years and years and years of playing this game. And also from Jerry and I just breaking this down from a scientific standpoint. We notice the littlest things. So, that's just where it comes from. That's why we train with FOA guys. It's when you train with us, we basically teach you how to find those tells. Someone at Mateo is asking a weekly draw day at the Victory Athletic Center in SoCal. So yes, we have a full plan on sending out an FOA coach to SoCal full time at some point this year. When COVID-19 runs its course, God willing, we will then be making announcements on that. But we will 100% be out there again. Oh, this is a great question from Lori. Well, it's Lori's iPad. What should you do with your left hand off the whistle? The left hand, it depends on your move, right? So Jerry, you want to take this one?
Yeah. So guys, if you were doing a quick clamp, I like to have my left hand punch maybe 1 to 2 inches just to help me get over the ball a little bit. But I also have it help me kind of jet down the line a little bit. Not to say, we're pitchforking to the ball because you may miss it. You want to be controlled. But on that, we get that left hand punch in 1 to 2 inches max. We don't punch 5 to 7 because you'll spin yourself off the ball. And then on our pro hop, we punch forward. We drive that hand out in a jab, not a haymaker. It's not a Rocky movie. If you swing your hand out like a crazy person, you're actually just going to turn your head from here straight this way, allowing your opponent to knock that ball upfield if he does anything with a bottom rail or gets a 50-50. He'll be able to rip without any sort of resistance from you. So you want to make sure that you're wrapping around the ball, driving your knuckle through your opponent's move, as opposed to just punching your left hand like a crazy person. Back in the day when the ball was lower in the stick, we could drive really hard. The power clamp was a much more useful move. Now we use the power clamp more of a secondary move to drive our opponent to push his head back off the ball. But especially in the pro hop, it's absolutely mandatory that you drive that left hand out and up, not just straight up. You never want to bring your butt end underneath your armpit like a lot of you face flex guys have the issue about. We want to drive that hand out forward to not only get to the ball, but to deflate our opponent's move as well.
Great call. Yeah, and to actually piggyback off of what Jerry just said, when it comes to training your left hand, I know we obsess over our right hand getting the ball. The left hand and its speed in which it moves is so vital. So that's why we tell guys, never sit around and practice one-handed clamps with your right hand. Not only are you going to develop an elbow flare that you can probably never get rid of, and you're going to delay your clamp the rest of your life, but also you are taking away half of the equation, which is your left hand needs to move with the exact same speed as your right, but it defines the move. So if you're a plunger, if you want a plunger and your right hand's to the ball, but your left hand's only here, you don't get the massive benefit of getting your left hand up and cutting your top sidewall on the ball. So Ziggy asked a question. He's been having trouble finding the right exit after a long tie-up. I'm going to post right now on the chat a pro hop recognition drill that helps you guys kind of saw down pro hop and then use the correct exit. And then you also have to remember long tie-ups mean the wings came in. So the longer your tie-up is, the less of a chance you have of a clean exit. So that's where that wing play comes in, because if your wings are running in on you, they're bringing another guy with them. So you're kind of in trouble. So look at that pro hop recognition drill and see what you're looking at here. So CK Stevenson asks, if you can't study your opponent via video, what can you look at for in a game? What should coaches look for from the sideline? God, I love that question.
Great question.
So basically, if you're, and this is for a lot of you guys, you don't have access to film, right? You just show up at a tournament and you're playing a kid. We tell our coaches, first off, always give a face-off guy, unless you're down 8-0, give your face-off guy a quarter to make the reads. If I go against a guy for the first time, I'm going to start to look for, first off, you're going to look for, is he doing something kind of shady that the ref isn't seeing? That's the first thing you're going to look for. And you have to be vocal about it, not scream at the ref off the field. Come out on the next face-off and say something politely to the ref while the face-off guy you're going against is standing there. So for instance, on the whistle, like he'll say set, and some guys will rock their wrist back and try to time it. Say that to the ref right before the face-off in front of the guy you're going against. So now it's in his head. The second thing is, now we're going to look at tendencies. So if I go against Jerry and I notice he's ripping the ball out right away on me, say he's doing a click and drag, and I'm noticing that, wow, okay, clamping isn't working because when I clamp, I'm not pinching the ball, so he's ripping it out from under me. So now I'm going to adapt. So if he's doing a click and drag means he's using the bottom sidewall to come out underneath me. So what's my recognition on that? I go SNG because now I'm standing up using my bottom sidewall and I take that away from him. If I notice on the whistle that when I pinch and I get the ball on a plunger, he's coming around and he's ripping my wrist and he's getting away with it. So what I do is after a few reps, I time it up, get to the ball, and then immediately as he goes for the wrist rip, I pop the ball forward, and now it's an open jailbreak fast forward. So, those are the things that you look at. We always tell guys, give yourself the first quarter. When you watch a guy in the second half, that's when you know what kind of face-off guy he is, because those are the guys that are able to make adjustments. What are some good drills to warm up with? Jerry, you want to take this as I pull it up?
No problem. So guys, we always do, it doesn't matter if you're looking at us from 2012 or 2020, we're all warming up the same way. We go through our Face-Off Academy warm-up. Obviously the ball's in a different position nowadays, but we're still approaching the warm-up the exact same way. The stuff we're teaching you guys is the exact same thing we do on game day. We start with our chops. Now, guys, chops mean nothing. Unless you're going to get a job at Chipotle and you want to be the best onion cutter, chops don't mean anything. Just gets the blood flowing, gets you in your stance. If you can lift your hands up and not fall out of your stance, you know you're balanced. So that's why we do chops so much. Now we got to make sure that we're holding, we run down. I like to say it's like reading a book. We go from left to right. I check my left hand. I look at my butt end. I look at my left foot, make sure everything is the way it's supposed to be. Look down the line, check my right hand, check my right knee. Does everything feel right? Good. Make sure I'm lining up properly on the ball. And then actually come game time, I'm going to actually continue that read down the line, check my opponent's stick, check his right glove, check his left hand, what he's giving me as well. But in that warm up, I make sure that I'm dialed in as I'm doing chops. Then we do our stick twists, arm extended, get that wrist loosened up. Same thing on the other side. Then I go back down, another set of chops, hands over my head, side bends. Again, then I do American twists. Then I go down and do a couple dummy reps on my own, 5 quick clamps, 5 power clamps, 5 pro hops out the front, 5 pro hops out the back. I'll do a couple TTLs. But Greg, did you get that video?
Yeah, got it up.
Excellent. So we got the official Face-Off Academy warm. That's just how we do it. I know Greg does a couple other things that he deems comfortable on game day. I have a few rituals that I go through on game day. That's where we sprinkle in at the end, but we make sure that we're pretty regimented, whether we're training or on game day, because you practice the way that you play.
We got some good questions and they're all in succession. So I'm going to hammer them out real quick. So just pay attention here. So Lucas asked, Logan asked, what is SNG? That's standing neutral grip. You're holding the stick like this, not like moto, and you're standing up. What is a good counter? A person who is on their knees but lasers it. So if someone's on their knee and they're raking, especially if they're SNG, it's a bottom sidewall move. Being on a knee going neutral grip is one of the worst styles of face-offs you can do, because you don't get the benefit of standing neutral grip and you don't get the benefit of knee down moto. You're doing the worst of two things. So if someone's on a knee going rake, I'm going to stand up and go neutral grip, and I'm going to go pinch and pop against them, because even if they rake it out, they still have to stand up, and all I have to do is step to my right and scoop it. Okay. What is a good move to counter? When is the next FOA video, the video coach? So we realized that we were making a new video coach every 2 years because they keep changing the damn rules. And every time they tweak a rule, something in our system has to be tweaked as well, because we have to stay on top of it. So like Jerry said, the ball used to be near the throat. Now it's higher up. We can't just go 90% dominant left hand power clamps, because we'll get beat forward. So we have to tweak our system. I'm going to pretty much guarantee next year they're going to move the ball up a little bit higher again, like it is in the PLL. So we have to be on top of that. So what we want to do, this is a rule change year. We want to wait and see what happens if there's rule changes. Do they move the wings, X, Y, Z? And then we can make an updated video for you guys. Tips for lefties. I've had 8 people ask that. Jerry, do you know any lefties?
I know one. He has no hair. So guys, being a lefty face-off guy, actually it helps us more than the righties, because when we pop that ball, we're already in our shooting and passing lane the second we pick up that ground ball if we pop a guy forward. The righties, they have to pick up the ground ball and start trailing back to the right-hand side, which is going to be their shooting side. So tips for being a lefty: 1, you should be good at scooping that ground ball with your left hand since you're a lefty. 2, you cannot face off with the stick flip the other side. They just don't let you do that. I tried doing that, 15 years ago, and they just said, no, the rules haven't changed. So you have to face off with the stick in your right hand. But as soon as you get to your feet and pop the ball out, Now you have an advantage because one, you're going to be comfortable with the stick in your left hand. So you're picking up the ground ball and now you're already ready to pass that ball, as opposed to a guy who picks up a left-handed ground ball. Then he has to switch to his right to be comfortable and cut across the field. So you can just keep running straight down the field the second you pick up that ground ball and basically bury it in the rack. I had a lot of, when I was in college and scored most of my goals, because guys thought I was a righty and they were like, all right, let him run down the field left-handed and make a weak-handed shot. I would shoot literally when I could see the whites of the goalie's eyes. So more often than not, guys are going to play you as if you are a righty, because most face-off guys are righty. So it's actually a gift, not a curse, to be a lefty face-off guy.
So Charlie said I win most of my clamps, but sometimes get tangled up and trip when I exit. Any tips or advice for that? Charlie, this is going to blow your mind. I want you to work on your exits. All right. So no, but seriously, I want you to use the saw down drill. Okay. That we posted on the FOA warm up, and that's on the youtube.com/Gurenlian. Saw down and work on all of your diversified exits: offensive exit, backdoor, TTL, defensive draw. And then work on diversifying on top of that. We call them remixes. If I go defensive turn and then I go backdoor, or if I go power clamp into a TTL, those are different types of things that you want to do. Let's see. Do you have a video of all the face-off stances? Yes, Braxton. Go to youtube.com/Gurenlian. There's 2 face-off stances that you should use: knee down moto or standing neutral grip. If you use any other variation of face-off stance, then good luck, because those are the that's it. Those are the 2 best that you want to use.
Weight room questions.
What do you say?
Getting a lot of weight room questions.
Yeah. So guys, I'm going to post the weight room answer real quick. We've always believed there's a couple things here, just so I can be on a tiny soapbox for a second. I know what it's like to be a younger guy. You look in the mirror, you want to train front to back, you want to care about this, and you train top to bottom because that's what you see in the mirror. When it comes to being an athlete, training from the ground up, legs up, and then back to front, training your posterior chain, which is your hammies, your glutes, your calves, your actual back, your upper back. Those are the things that are most important. When it comes to training as a face-off guy, do not let anyone tell you that you need to sit there and work on grip strength. You do not need to do wrist rolls to be an effective face-off guy. It's not correct, no matter who tells you, okay? The most important thing for a face-off guy, the hierarchy, is mobility, flexibility, power, and then after that, then it's strength and all that stuff. But those are the 3 most important. Our limiting factor in face-offs is our injury rate. We get injured more than anyone. Every time you go to a fall ball tournament and you look at colleges playing each other, there's always one face-off guy somewhere on the sideline who's hurt. Wrists, elbows, shoulders, and our low back. Why? Because our position is the only one where we're on a right knee doing the same motion over and over again. And not only are we doing that, we're getting impact back, because some of you guys take 1,000 more reps a week than you should. So our bodies are just simply not designed to do that. So you guys should be training to increase your flexibility, and you should be training to increase your shoulder and your wrist and your low back mobility. Then after that, it's power. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to post a video in which I teach you how to write up your own program. Do not go on Instagram and find one of these workout wannabes and DM them for a program. Okay. You're going to get yourself hurt, because I don't know any of you guys, if you squat right. I don't know if you have an old injury. I don't know if you have some kind of issue. If I just give you a cookie cutter program, especially a wannabe bodybuilding one where it's like one body part a day, you're going to get hurt really bad. So I'm going to teach you, pay attention to this link. I'm going to throw it up here in a second. And this teaches you guys how to write a conjugate periodization workout, which is basically a rotation of sets and reps that you guys can write yourselves. I literally teach you how to write it yourself. So just give me a second. Jerry, do you want to build on anything with that weight room stuff? Anything that you find in particular that works for you?
Nothing in particular that works better for me than anybody else. I will tell you the reason why I'm able to still play at my age is because I'm gifted with my flexibility. A lot of face-off guys are super stiff. a lot of hamstring injuries. I had those when I was a heavier 230-pound guy when we were, head bashing like Rams. But now that I'm lighter, I'm able to play longer because of my flexibility, because I work on my stretching, because I stretch every day. I cannot stress that enough. I wish I did it when I was 16 and further. I just thought that my God-given double jointedness would take me far. It has. But for guys who are stiffer, find out what an IT band is and make sure you're rolling on it. Cannot stress it enough. That will take your career very, very far. Because again, we're in an unnatural position, like Coach said. We're on a knee, leaning to one side, taking a lot of reps. Make sure you are spending just as much time as you are working out as you are rolling out. Cannot stress it enough. That will elongate your career further than any 500-pound deadlift and 500-pound squat will.
100%. Now there's a few. So when I mentioned the reps thing, by the way, you guys are actually doing a good job of answering each other's questions on here. If you ask a question, make sure you stay paying attention to the chat, because there's guys answering very correctly on here. If we don't touch on it, then there's mostly it's because we just saw it and it was a correct answer. So someone asked about the Weapon X breaking it in. It's a little bit stiffer than most heads out of the box. There is a softer version coming up in the next few weeks that I don't think I'm officially allowed to talk about yet. But in the meantime, go on my Instagram, GregBeast32, and on my IGTV, I have a video that's titled "How I Break In a Weapon X Really Fast," and you guys can do that, and it'll break in real quick. Trust me. Now we touched on how many reps you should be taking on a week. We run our weekly draw days in one time a week for a reason. In a draw day with the FOA, you'll probably take maybe about 100 reps. That's enough for a week. Because I put it this way, imagine going out right now and doing 100-pound bench press, and at the top of 100 reps of bench press, and at the top of every rep, as you're raising it, someone's punching you in the hand, okay? Then do that 5 times a week and tell me if something doesn't hurt, okay? And that's basically what you're doing with face-offs. So we tell guys 1 time a week, yeah, sure, get a group of buddies, take your reps, but video yourselves. Because if you're just taking reps and you're not videoing it, then all you're doing is getting tired, because you're not fixing anything or correcting anything. Every time Jerry and I take reps, we video it all the time over the years. And I would say when I was actually playing full time, I would take live reps maybe twice in an off season. And that would always be like a couple weeks before training camp started. I always diligently paid attention to my technique more than anything, and that's all I cared about. Now, look, I know you guys play pretty much year-round, so you can't just do that. But because you play year-round and you're younger and you're still growing, please don't take reps 5 days a week, because you only have a certain amount of tread on your tire, and you're going to wear it down real fast. There's some guys who are 13 that have taken more reps than I have in my lifetime. Let's see. What are good wing strategies for man down face-offs? What are your thoughts on reclasses? Okay, so those are 2 questions that are totally different, but okay, let's answer them both. Reclasses, if you absolutely need it from an academic and social standpoint, or if you're an absolute late comer and your FOA coach and your club coach deem that you have a ceiling that's here, but because you started so late, you're right here right now, sure. And if your family can afford it and that's your goal, then go for it. But guys who reclass strictly because they think they have a better shot at getting recruited or whatever, or they want some kind of advantage in high school, that's not my cup of tea. So we got that out of the way right there. But as far as wing strategies for man down, I'm going to let Jerry answer too. I've always said when I'm man down, I want my shorty deep on the defensive side, either on my pull side or my draw side. And I'm just going to accept the fact that if I don't beat this guy clean on the initial whistle, that we're playing man down. The worst thing you can do is try to get too cute, let your guy slide upfield, and then if they do break it forward, it's a 5-on-3, or you get into a tangle and you get sucked in, and then all of a sudden they pop it out, and now it's a springboard to a dunk. You want to make them earn it on EMO or the power play. You don't want them to just get an easy one. So I've always said, keep it back. If I win it right on the whistle, I'll pull it out and goose it to you. But that's what I always recommend. I don't know if Jerry has any different opinion.
Yeah, guys, I think the man down face-off is less about your face-off man, because to us, it's a regular face-off, right? We're trying to win. We never don't want to win face-off. We just know that we have one less guy out there for us to put the ball to. It's more so about where you're putting that wing and what your wing is going to do. So you need to make sure, hey man, like grab his face mask. Do not come near me. Stay down here. Wait and see. Like you just got to break it down as if that guy's a caveman, because a lot of the times they tend to get sucked. They're like flies going to the light. They're like, ooh, there's a face off. Let me get as close as I possibly can. Keep them away from you. That is really the biggest thing in a man down face off that I can think of. Just making sure that guy does what he's supposed to do. We're going to do our job. Do we lose face offs? Yeah, it happens, but you just can't let that guy get a 5-on-3. Also, guys, be comfortable in a man down situation. You should be playing defense. It shouldn't be, oh no, here's the FOGO. You guys should know, hey, here's we're in a box and one. What are we doing? Okay, I got it. You guys have to be able to play the game of lacrosse. And if it's man down, and God bless you if you can get on man up, but man down minimum, you have to understand that set, because that is a situation you are going to be in. And if your coach tells you that's something you're not going to be in, you have to explain to him, well, what if I get in a man down face off and I lose? Are we going to go into a 5-on-3? If he says yes, okay, not on you. But if he should say, oh, right, we should be able to use you as a fourth man in a man down situation. Just even if you just catch a guy as he's running off the field for a second, that's fine, but you just can't be a liability.
And then on the other side of it, man up. If you're man up, your goal is to take away whoever their pull side face-off guy is, or wing guy is. So if I have two wings, I'm going to line mine up on whoever their one wing is, and I'm going to nullify him and take him out of the game. And then the other wing is his goal. You can decide if you're winning clamps left and right, then keep him open, because then you can just pop the ball out wherever you want. If you are going to, it's been a 50-50, then what you do is you tell your other wing to come in hard on whatever exit you want to force them into. So if I'm winning a clamp and I start to notice that all of a sudden I'm losing that clamp, I'm going to turn my guy back. So I'm going to force him to go into a counterclockwise defensive turn, and I'm going to line that wing up right there so he opens up right into it. So that's how you want to do. Use one guy to expose their face-off guy. Use your other wing guy to take away their wing guy completely. Yeah, let's see. You, Jacob, you can have a visor if you want. It's totally preference. I tried wearing one.
They're better now. They're way better.
South Beach and years ago, and it totally messed my vision up. So I popped the ball out and whiff on ground ball. So I took it off. This is a great question. How did you adjust your face-offs when playing international rules? I live and play lacrosse in Norway, and all the face-off techniques and tips we get from your videos. Oh, it's awesome. But our rules are a bit different from what you teach. So do you have any tips on playing international rules? Thanks for the content. So Christian, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to show you a video that I made that discusses the difference between the American face-off rules. I'm going to put it up here right now for you. That discusses the American face-off rules and compares that to the international rules. So I just posted it in the chat. Something you should know based on talking to officials that were supposed to be in the U19 championship this summer, they were saying that the FIL is moving closer to NCAA rules. Now, based on what I saw during the tryouts, the ball was down first still, but they were very strict about guys with their hands off the plastic and being off the line. And then there was a delay between set and whistle. And for years in the international game, we were playing with what's called a swizzle call. So as soon as we heard the ref say set, we were going. And we were tighter up to the ball near the throat. So what I would say is take a look at this video. If they're staying the way that it used to be, then follow that video and it'll help. If they're not and they're moving closer to an NCAA format where they're spacing you guys out, then the only difference would be the ball's down first. That's the only difference. It might get even more dicey as the NCAA moves closer to PL rules if they do. So we'll see. Let's see. When you have a lockup, activate your screw, dominate the column. Thanks, Lydell. I don't know if that was you're just telling me that, or if you're asking, or so actually that brings up an interesting point. When we used to teach the screw drill, we used to do that as our 50-50 dominant exercise. But like you said before, because the ball's not lined up close to the throat anymore and it's higher up, if you immediately swing into the screw drill, you're going to give up breaks. So most of our time now is dedicated to the saw down variations, sawing down, getting right hand into the ball, dominating the column still with your helmet, but crushing the ball with your right and sawing down with the left. That is what we focus on now because that's more applicable. Heads are designed that way now. Face-off heads are softer up top, hard down in the throat. And that's just kind of where we go from there. Is it possible to swipe the ball instead of clamping and pinching and popping?
Yep.
So I've heard this term swipe. I don't know who's saying it. It's been called a rake since 1970. So we're going to keep using the term rake because swipe sounds kind of like, I don't know what it's supposed to be, but is it possible to rake the ball instead of clamping and pinching and popping? Yeah, we went over that. You can go for a rake off a knee as a changeup. I would highly not recommend it as your main move, but you can totally do that to catch somebody off for sure. And then as a standing neutral grip guy, a rake variation is kind of your main go-to. Jared, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, again, I call those fool me once moves because you'll get a guy maybe once or twice in a game with it. It's a great changeup and it keeps guys honest. But if you go out and throw 3-4 knee down rakes in a row, all that guy has to do is look at your left hand and he's going to have the answer. So I would definitely make sure that you can pepper it in, right? Like when you pepper your food or salt your food, you don't take a big handful and dump it on your plate. Little sprinkles, right? We just tap it in there, keep a guy honest. If you want, if he's got you on 3 in a row, throw the knee down rake and see if you get him. But the one thing you have to make sure that you do is no matter what, you're immediately getting to your feet, because if it doesn't go, you got to play defense. If you throw a rake and you go all the way forward as if you're going to beat him, you just gave him a 4 or 5 foot buffer to take you out the front door. You're never getting back in the hole in time. So if you are going to do a knee down rake, pull it, get to your feet, but don't actually go anywhere. Just get right to your pro hop motion and see if that ball left or not.
And then we have a quick question here about workouts. Your football coach gave you workouts. You can't go wrong really with calisthenics, body weight exercises. That's totally fine. I always tell guys, if someone gives you workouts, unless they have a degree or they are a USAW or CSCS certified coach, tell them thank you and absolutely don't listen to anything they just said. Because unless they are certified and they understand the body, not just exercises, then you're playing with fire. Okay. I think we have one more. Jacob, recommended gloves, dude, whatever you like. I just don't personally like gloves with mesh in the palm. I love Mavericks Roam gloves. Axe suede is like the best way to go right now, because if you have mesh in the palms, they slide and it can tear. So, and if you get face-off hand, that little callus and that cut here, if you have mesh palms, that's going to happen quicker.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. This question was asked a few times and I forgot to answer it. What is the most effective way to communicate with your wings? Can you use other teams' wings set up to determine where you go? That depends on your success. If you're winning the clamps, you get to set the rules. But when we talk about communication with your wings, pre-whistle, your pull side shorty, when you go down, when the ref says down, his job is to call out the audible. So Jerry had talked about our base set, which is a shorty deep on the defensive side. If anything changes, we always look at the wing, wherever the opponent's wing is, we make a mark of it, we go down, and if he moves anywhere, it's the shorty's job to yell our name 3 times. That means we know the audible's on. Now, after the whistle, communication is not verbal anymore. Communication is visual, because it's just too chaotic in there to start yelling people's names. That's where we go to the saw down drill. On the whistle, look at that, the wing play. Don't bring more dudes to the party. That wing play video that I posted earlier and is on the YouTube channel explains the entire idea behind why we want to do that for you. How do you feel about Trevor Baptiste's new head? Anything Trevor does is awesome in our book. I think that's it.
Yeah, on the nose.
So guys, we appreciate it. This was awesome. We got a lot done. We're going to keep this recorded and I'm going to post this on this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Greg Gurenlian. And that way you guys can reference it later. We had a blast. We're going to be doing more of these. Thanks a lot for everything. And then the FOA online session. Some guys were confused. This is not the FOA online. FOA online is using Zoom, but you are working one-on-one, one-on-3 or 4 with a couple other guys, and we're actually drilling you, and you're doing a back and forth Q&A for an hour. So it's like a private lesson, but over the video. Those are the things that, if go ahead and email us, FOAbeast@gmail.com if you want to train with me, FOARaganese@gmail.com if you want to train with Jerry. Go to the FaceOffAcademy.com website. We do weekly office hours so that you guys can do that. So definitely check that out. Flogo37 is Jerry's handles. GregBeast32 are mine. And once again, youtube.com/Greg Gurenlian. Have an awesome time. Stay safe and healthy, guys. Take care.
Have a good one, boys.